Hello and welcome to EduCurious, where we highlight exceptional educators and dive deep into complex issues. Today's guest is Amanda Roecker, previously Navy Aviation Ordinance, aka bomb builder, turned middle school social studies teacher. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Glad to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. You're one of my favorites. You have such a variety of background knowledge, and I want to hear how have you successfully transitioned from Navy into education?
I had a job lined up and that got slipped away because the Navy took too long getting me processed out. So came here going, oh my God, what am I going to do? Scariest 3 months of my life was not having a job and not knowing what was going on. And I finally found a security job with a college. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And while I'm sitting there working overnight, staying up all night, playing with my kids during the day, staying up all night, dealing with college kids, I started tutoring them and helping them with math, helping them with science, helping them with their ELA stuff. And I'm like, I could do that. I could have taught you a different way of doing that. So from there, I was already going to college to get my bachelor's degree in public management with a focus of public safety. This was before Polk State had their big brand new public safety building. It was still looped in with business with a business degree. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go after that, and then I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna pull this off. That's when the security positions in schools opened up, and so I was like, oh, let me do that. So I went from college security to educational security. And then they started, hey, can you sub a class? Can you cover for this teacher? And I started subbing, and that's how it happened.
So let me get this right. You had two small kids at home, you were working full time, and you were going to school on top of that.
Yeah, and then for like the last few months of my initial run at college, I was also working as a tutor at Polk State. So like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I wouldn't really sleep. I'd get maybe an hour or two long nap because I would have classes all day Monday, Tuesday, and have tutoring scheduled Monday, Tuesday, and then have worked overnight Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday.
So for somebody maybe less organized or motivated, or someone who doesn't requires a normal amount of sleep, maybe, um, which is not you. You're a superwoman. What advice do you have transitioning from a career that you've done that you know into education? There's a lot of moving parts, and you did it wonderfully, efficiently. How do you even get started if you're thinking about going into education?
First off, highly recommend subbing because then you can find what grades you actually like. Once you find that out, then you can figure out which tests you need to take once you get your bachelor's degree and so on and so forth.
Right now, you are neck deep in test. You've got aspirations of moving up the corporate ladder into leadership. You are a natural born leader, but you've also put in a lot of time and effort into it. Talk about the test that you have to take as an educator to be a bona fide person in the classroom.
My bachelor's degree is in public management. It's a business degree. It's not an education degree. I have to test everything before they'll even let me do anything. So I had to get my SOE that says, yeah, they can go into a classroom. Then there's this list of stuff that I have to do, which I'm still working on. I still have a couple of college classes that I have to take on top of having my degree already. Then you have to take your subject area, the general knowledge, and the professional exam. The general knowledge it's a 4-part test. It's math, science, social studies, and reading. Then you have your subject area. I highly recommend once you figure out what grade you want to teach, if it's elementary education, do K-6. Don't do the pre-K-3 because the pre-K-3 has a lot to do with the very small, intricate childhood development and how the brain grows. And it's more of a sciencey test. So if people have a harder time with science, that's not going to be a test that you're going to pass. I'm talking with coworkers in the elementary world because that's where I was before I came to Bach. They would have such a problem with pre-K-3 that they would take K-6 and they'd breeze right through it. Once you figure out where you want to go, you have to stay focused. You have to stay determined and you have to get it done. Keep SMART goals in mind. Make sure it's specific, measurable, accurate, attainable, reliable, and that you have your target time period, which That's a foundation for anything, especially in the military. You couldn't have a goal without saying, I want to have this accomplished in 6 months. I don't want to do this until I get this done. You had to have it listed out. You still need to have those listed out. You're talking about on neck deep in tests. I did 2 tests back to back on Fridays because I transitioned from elementary to middle school this year. I took the social studies 5 through 9 test. Took that on one Friday, passed it. The next Friday, I took the Florida Education Leadership exam because I spent enough time as a non-commissioned officer. I was a second class petty officer for over 3 years. You are permitted to take the Florida Education Leadership exam, the FELE, without having your master's degree. It's not a requirement for us. So I went in and took that. Looking at the material, just looking at the study notes of other people, I'm going, what is that? Make sure that whenever you're studying and you're looking at the material, you're taking it and you're not getting overwhelmed. You're breaking it down. Don't do cram sessions right before the test. Break it down. Take it 20, 30 minutes a day for the lead up to the exam. I know with my test anxiety, I find that I do better without studying for the first time, just so I can go in and go, okay, what do they want me to know? Because I'm going to try and study anything and everything I can get my hands on, and then I'm going to overload myself. I have a much better chance of succeeding if I just go off of intuition and, okay, well, what have I seen my leaders do? How did they handle this?
Go back in time to your first career in the Navy. I want to hear about some of the things that really have helped prepare you for managing a classroom of middle schoolers.
Well, I got hurt while I was in the military, and I ended up having to have knee surgery. I jumped on my back, blew out my knee. I had to have the knee surgery to fix it. Whenever you are injured at a training command, you have to stay at that command as a staff member. So they put me in, awkwardly enough, a schoolhouse to work with the staff members there. And it was hilarious because I had to go into the classrooms and we had to do all these little things. And um, most of military training is done on computers. So, you have these old computers with the big box screens and kids are all crammed up like this, looking at the screens. But one of the teachers, he was a senior chief. He was getting ready to get out. He was going for his master training certificate so he could just immediately become a teacher. And he sat there and he goes, Arwine, because I wasn't married at the time, so it was my maiden name. He goes, Arwine. I'm like, yes, senior. He goes, these kids today. I'm like, what? He goes, the best way to get them to understand is to make them do push-ups, right? I'm like, okay. He goes, they don't want to sit down. They want to keep moving. He goes, so I've got to figure it out. I'm like, okay, what do you got, senior? He goes, they start acting a fool. I make them do push-ups. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, you can make them do push-ups. We can't do that in the civilian world. We cannot make kids do push-ups. We can't. We're not allowed to do that. So I took that whole make them do push-ups. Okay, well, you don't want to sit down. Tell you what, as long as you do your work, I'll let you stay out of your chair. It gives you movement, lets you do what you want to do as long as you're doing what I want you to do. It's the same ideology. They didn't want to sit still. Senior chief lets them do a bunch of push-ups and then puts them back in their chair. Learning never stops. You got 2 kids that can't sit next to each other. Fine. 4 corners of that world. Okay, put one here, and have their backs to each other so they can't even look at each other. They can't start drama. Again, same ideology. Take the kids, put them on opposite ends of the room. They can't start any drama with each other because they're not looking at each other. You take all the small things that the kids blow way out of proportion. He's looking at me. Well, make it to where they can't look at each other. He's talking to me. Make it to where they can't talk to each other. He's walking past me and I don't like it, Miss Roecker. Well, I'm going to put you on a single seat in the back of the classroom and nobody can walk past you but me. You got a problem with that one? No? Okay, let's go. Keep working. Keep moving forward. Don't stop learning. Learning process doesn't stop just because you don't like something. We'll make it to where that's not going to bother you.
What's been one of the most surprising features getting into the classroom, having your own group of students?
How many of them still want you to come to like their games? My 2 kids, they bowl. Can I invite Miss Brown to my bowling alley? Yeah, dude, it's a public alley. I don't care. Invite her. She shows up. She doesn't. It doesn't matter to me. He goes, I want her to see my new curve that I'm throwing. Okay, bro, do what you want to do. But the fact that I had to, at one point in time, put a calendar up in my classroom because I accidentally showed up to one of my kids' games and saw another student of mine and waved at him. Good job. It's a good hit. Way to go. And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted me to show up at all of their stuff. The fact that kids still need you to show up outside of school was a shocker to me. I had never heard of that. Because whenever I was a kid, I didn't want my teacher showing up. I was like one of those, I did some good things, I did some bad things that I didn't want my mom knowing about. I didn't want Miss Hearn showing up at anything that I did because Miss Hearn was going to tell my mom. So yeah, I'm not gonna have my teachers at any of my events outside of school. I see you enough at school. I don't need to see you outside of it. But the kids still want you to show up. They want you to be there. They still want you to show up. That was shocking. Behaviors don't startle me. Hats don't startle me. Chewing gum doesn't startle me. The fact that they still want to see you outside of school, that was a shocker.
I am so very curious about the actual skill set needed for your previous job as the Aviation Ordinance bomb builder. Just to enlighten me and probably any other curious minds out there, tell me about that job, and then you can relate it to education. Somehow I know you can do that.
Bomb building was great. I loved it. If I could do that all of the time, I would have. The Navy does all up round, meaning most of the components are already put together. You just have to, oh, we want this, add this here, call it a day. It actually has a book. We have publications, they're called pubs, that tell us which bomb goes with what and what we're supposed to put in it and all of this other information. You actually have tests that you have to take. You have to take a handwritten test. You have to take a verbal test to do anything, to be a team member, team leader, quality safety observer. And I made it all the way up to team lead. So I had the black stripes and everything and before I left, but you would get a call. If you didn't already have it built, you would get a call and say, hey, we need so many by this time, make it happen. They'd come down, tell us at muster, hey, this is what we need, make it happen. And your WASO, your quality assurance safety observer, would come down and say, all right, go get the pubs for this, go check them out, get all the stuff ready. We do the whole working line out for it, and we'd send them up to the flight deck. They'd attach them to the jets, and off they'd go. Everything has instructions. Everything has a manual. Not day-to-day teaching in a classroom, right? But everything has standards. Everything has benchmarks. Everything has a publication that you're supposed to follow. You want to teach this class? Make sure you talk about all of this. That's how you make sure that you've taught what they need to learn. You follow your benchmarks, you follow your standards.
So, with that in mind, what do you feel like makes a really effective educator?
We're Title I for everybody. Everybody has free reduced lunches. So a good educator keeps in mind that our kids don't always have everything they need at home. They need to keep in mind that when we say we're going to call your parents, that might not be their parents. It may be their aunt. It may be their uncle. It may be grandma. You got to know all of your students. And 120 of them is fun. It's quick notes, index cards. I mean, have a brand new pack of index cards for next school year already so that I can make notes of, hey, when I'm dealing with this kid, food is best. When I'm dealing with this kid, don't mention mom, don't mention dad, don't mention this. When calling home, don't call this person first. The phone never answered. Just little notes. Making these notes, doing all the small little things and realizing all of these small little things that are big major impacts on our kids. Realizing that when you say, like this book, Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience Essays, our kids don't know who Henry David Thoreau is. We do, but our kids don't. Knowing what their background is, knowing that our kids are more likely to be able to tell you what happened last week in the neighborhood that the cops are still asking questions about versus what happened yesterday in class. Because they're not worrying about class, they're worrying about what happened in the neighborhood. Our kids have so much external forces that require all of their internal thought process that a good educator in our system has the ability to say, listen, in here you're safe. In here you've got food. In here, out there don't matter. You may be arguing with them out there, but in here, y'all are fam. In this room, we work together. In this room, we're home. Because here, you're loved, you're safe, you will be cared for. I'll take care of it. You're okay. Because kids don't get that all the time. Understanding that mindset, that they are constantly in fight or flight whenever they walk out of our school doors, answers 3/4 of their discipline issues sometimes. Making the kids feel safe makes it a great educator because the minute they feel safe, they're willing to learn. Once they're willing to learn, they gain knowledge. Once they gain knowledge, they'll improve their scores. You have to start with the basics with our kids. Then you grow with them.
So I want to tie back to the Navy and really military in general. They are known for having such a structure, just set of expectations, and you know how to move up. All of the things are ordered. Talk about that, how that has helped shape you as a person and as an educator.
You never walk into something that you don't know what's going on. We never walked into a bomb build without knowing what we wanted. We never walked into our magazines without knowing what was there. And I mean, we knew exactly where everything was. We could walk through our magazines with millions of dollars worth of stuff and know exactly where everything was. But no, from the moment you walk into the Navy, they say, hey, if you want to go up to E2, you got to do this. You want to go up to E3, you got to do this. 4, you got to pass this test and you got to have this many numbers and you just got to test up. You got to be good. You got to be one of the best. Once you know what they're looking for, you can model after that. In the real world, on the outside, it's you take the same mentality of you got to be the best. There's certain things that they're looking for constantly. At school, it's the teacher's there. The teacher has the kids that are making learning gains. The teacher is hitting their standards. The teacher hasn't really had a lot of discipline issues. The teacher doesn't call for support that often, but whenever they need it, they know to call for it. They know how to call for it. They know how to follow the proper standards, the proper procedures. So there's still that list of things that they're looking for to be the best that you can be. There's always going to be that little list of, hey, this is what I want. Can you give me that? While at the same time, you have a lot more leeway than when we did in the military. The military had a lot more structure, but what that did was it helped shape how you wanted to be a civilian. I'm never in my classroom on breaks. Why? And I get 45 minutes for a lunch, which I'm used to scarfing 20 minutes with a bunch of kids. 2 hours later, I get another 45-minute break to help plan and do other things. But once I'm done with all that stuff, I don't like sitting. I don't do that very well. I need to be up. I need to be moving. I want to go see and I want to go check in on people. Why? Because sometimes people are having a rough day and they just need to say hey to somebody else. I'm going to make sure that they don't need like a 2-minute break somewhere, or hey, the office is completely backed up. Can you help us with parents? A, for me, because I don't like being cooped up in 4 walls. I don't. I have to get out. And B, it's to make sure that the people that I work with aren't going through something that is a 2-second fix. Because there are days when somebody just needs a hug. Like a kid in the hallway is just sitting there. Well, I don't want to write them up for skipping class. What's going on, dude? Why aren't you in class? I just need a minute. Okay, well, why don't you walk with me so you don't get into trouble? Let's go for a walk. 2 seconds. No problem. It's helping manage outside of the classroom. That can be a big assistance as well. Because sometimes the teacher does send a kid out and the kid just sits there and doesn't go to the office because they don't want to get into the trouble. It's fine. But at the same time, it's okay. Get with the teacher, call it a day, get where you need to go. But then it's supporting your coworkers, being there for people who need you, while at the same time, you're taking a mental break yourself. Because in the military, if you're away from your workspace, you must be making yourself useful.
Tell me your thoughts on, I suppose, really a recruitment of military right now with students. Say you're not going down the college path as a young adult. What do you recommend about the military that is really beneficial to somebody in that phase of their life?
So I'm not originally from Florida. I am actually from this very itty bitty tiny town called Bryson, Texas. Whenever I left, the population was 500 people. I joined the Navy. I said, oh, I'm going to see the world. I'm going to get money for college. I'm going to do all these big things. College is expensive. The military has the post 9/11 GI Bill. And what that does is that pays for your college. It gives you a stipend of like a couple $100 for books. And it also pays for housing. It gives you a basic allowance for housing. During that time period where I was working overnight and I was going to college full time and I had 2 kids at home and I was working the security job, I was making $500 every 2 weeks for security. That's how I got my kids' insurance. I had them on insurance through that job. That's not how I made my money. I was getting paid $1,200 a month through basic allowance for housing to go to college. $1,200 just to go to school and stay in school and do good in school. I wasn't paying anything for college because post 9/11 GI Bill is a form of financial aid. Polk State required that we apply for the FAFSA, for the federal financial aid, for the grants, for the Pell Grants. Well, obviously, I'm only getting a couple $100, every 2 weeks. That's taxable income. Everything that you get through the VA is non-tax. You don't have to do anything with it. So we obviously got Pell Grant money to help pay for the rest of our books and laptops and school supplies and anything else we needed. So going to college, I made money. I was making $1,200 a month on BAH plus whatever was left on my Pell Grant just to go to school. Go through the military. Get your post 9/11, do however long you want to do, because you may end up liking it and do the whole 20 years and be retired through there. Come out, go to the VA, get your disability compensation and pension, get your DCAP, get that monthly check, go to school, get BAH, have them pay for all of your tuition, get the Pell Grant money, get everything. Why not? Why not get paid to go to college? Do it. Have fun. I mean, learn something, do something that people normally don't do. I mean, I got to play with 500-pound bombs. Who else can say that? I got to go look at F-18s for 9 months. I got to go see jellyfish that are the size of Volkswagen Beetles. I got to see tiger sharks and hammerheads, and I got to see all this beautiful sea life and whales and dolphins and submarines. And I got to do all of this and get paid to do it. I got to see Marseille, France. I got to see Bahrain and Abu Dhabi and Greece. And I got to see some of the most beautiful places in the world. And I got paid to do it. And then I got to come home to my kids and get to see them grow up and get to have fun with them, and got paid to go to college. I don't think that people understood that whenever I went through the whole, couple of days of no sleep for 6 months. And they're like, Amanda, why are you doing that? Because it's not that big of a deal whenever you look at everything that I'm getting from it. Whenever you look at the pros of joining the military and what you get out of it, you automatically get free healthcare. You automatically get all of these things when you get out. It also depends on what you do. It depends on what your job is. They have everything from cooks to gas turbine specialists to aviation traffic control to pilots to avionics technicians. They IT support. They have everything. You can find a job that you want to do. And all of your training while you're in is free.
So what do you foresee in this new career, this career in education? What do you aspire to become?
But right now, I'm like, I just want to be a teacher. I'll do all the paperwork that y'all want me to do. I'll take the tests y'all want me to take. But I wanna stay paying my dues as a teacher before I make that big jump from teacher to dean. And that is a big jump. For the next couple of years, I want to stay a teacher, and then we'll probably move up to dean and figure out from there.
What do you like best about teaching right now?
The impact. All I want to do every single day. This is my goal in life. I just want to make an impact. If I teach a child something that they're never going to forget, that is a good impact. Whether it's that Washington crossed the Delaware more than once in one night, or um, people that do bad things go to jail. And it's not simple as black and white. You yelled at her for what reason? Because you didn't like something that you did and it affected her, but you yelled at her. That's not how you can act. That doesn't work in the real world. You need to realize that.
What would have you liked to have known before you got into education that maybe could benefit someone else who's thinking about it?
Leadership is completely different. We have a chain of command. From the lowest member to the most high ranking member, we have a chain of command. As a seaman apprentice, you have to talk to your petty officer. And as a petty officer, you have to talk to your E5. Your E5 has to talk to your E6. Your E6 has to talk to your E7. And if, my God, you see an E9, you hold your breath, because, Master Chief, how are you today, sir? Things flow differently. Education. As a teacher, you talk to your department head. Your department head talks to the principal. Principal talks to the superintendent, and the board of trustees.
I would like your information on what to do if you decide to go from one career and make the big transition into education. How do you even get started?
You're going to need a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what it's in, get a bachelor's degree. Then you're going to go to fldoe.org and you're going to register for an SOE. That's a statement of eligibility. It's going to take about 90 days, and they'll walk you through the process of filling out all the paperwork for it. And then the statement of eligibility will come back and tell you exactly what you're going to need to do to get your your teaching certificate. From there, it's going to tell you a bunch of tests that you're going to need to take. So you're going to go to fl.nesinc.com. That way you can learn more about the tests, study for the tests, see what they're going to be asking questions about, how they're going to ask the questions, what the breakdown of the questions are going to be. It's a wonderful resource for any test that you're going to be taking. Then if you go to reg3, the number 3.nesinc.com/FL registration, you can register for your test. You're going to need to create a username and a password. From there, it will tell you how much the test is going to cost, if you can break it down into subtests. For my veterans, military veterans, have your DD-214, get it scanned, send it to the state of Florida Department of Education. Anytime you take a test for the very first time, any fees will be waived for your first test and any certification that you add to your certification. For example, when I added my reading endorsement to my temporary certification, I didn't have to pay the $75. We don't have to pay that as veterans for a time period. Veterans, get your 214s and send it in. Save some money. That's what you got to do. Once you figure out your 3 tests, take them. Do not take them all on one day. Veterans especially, they're going to tell you have to take the whole test. So if there's 4 subtests, you have to take all 4 subtests in one day. But civilians, non-military, you can take subtest 1 in one day, subtest 2 another day, break it down, chunk it out however you need to. You can do score verification. It's another $75. You have to request a score verification within 30 days. Then they'll come in and tell you, oh, this is exactly the questions you missed. You can also use different websites to study. I've heard 240 Tutoring's good, study.com, and Quizzes. I use Quizlet. All have ways of studying with flashcards, practice quizzes, so on and so forth.
Go on the website, see what you need, sign up for the test. For sure, you're going to need to take those 3. And then additional tests if you're teaching a specific area. Well, thank you, Amanda, for all of the information. You're fascinating. I'm so glad you made the transition into education because you are impacting lives. I see it every day with the kids, and relationships matter, and you do a great job with.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I strive for every day, whether I'm getting onto the kid for wearing his hat inside or making sure that they're okay, because the biggest thing is when you notice it to say it.
Thank you for joining us today on the show. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. We'll see you next time.